Good morning, everyone. I've been a Labor Party member for more than 30 years now. And you're brought up on the stories of the great national conferences, of the fierce fights. You know, when people say, remember when things used to mean something and outcomes were not clear and there was a debate about ideas, and you get a sense as you spend time in politics that there's a little bit of nostalgia over the screens of the past, that things were perhaps better or nicer or tougher or meaner or just more exciting, more passionate. I say to the delegates of this 47th conference that I couldn't have been any prouder of the party, not 30 years ago, but yesterday. In events, there's sometimes a tipping point where matters can go one way or matters can go the other way. And I just want to, and I know one shouldn't single out individuals for praise because therefore people might draw the conclusion that if you're not mentioned, somehow what you did was less praiseworthy, and of course that's not the case. But yesterday there was a bit of a tipping point when we were talking about those hard and complex issues of how Australia can be a humane and safe destination. But I have to say that when Andrew Giles was here speaking, had a bit of a demonstration, probably some free advice yelled from the grandstand by people who've never voted Labor in their life. Andrew Giles, I think, deserves a bit of a mention, because that could have gone either way. It was respectful, it was passionate, it was open, and I'm not sure that the objectors intended to do this, but as our great party does, we don't mind disagreeing with each other, but we're not going to let anyone else tell us how to disagree. We do that ourselves, and we won't let anyone outside damage us. And that's why I want to mention Mark as well, in the chair. Oh, that's good. I didn't ever have to say why, and that clapped you, Mark. That's good. But, you know, you saw the way that he, again, helped at that tipping point to say we're going to have this argument, we're going to have this debate, but we'll do it the Labor way. And I think I should also acknowledge Richard Marles in all of this too. He's, for the last number of months, been formulating views, been assisted, and there's been plenty of people putting input. But not easy necessarily to challenge a particular position from the best of places. And I think what he's doing is what I know all my shadow ministers do. He's just stating his view honestly and with conviction. And I think that in some not small way, that what we saw is the Labor Party writ large. So when people say, what's the point of being involved in politics, that there's a disconnection, that somehow being involved in politics is not going to achieve anything, that what we do in politics is disconnected from the lives of people, I think this conference at the 2/3 mark is actually stating something different. When people say there's no more passion in politics, when people say that it's not going to what really matters, I think this conference in the last 2 days has. And I think it's something that Tanya said on Friday captures some of what we're doing. She said, in Labor, unity has never meant conformity. But we are standing together, and she's right, supporting and working through these issues. Not for us, the tepid, one-way dialogue of the Liberals' Federal Council. You see how they're rushing out now to say, well, they may have done these things, but we don't really want them to do it. We don't really know what to say about it. But the point is, we are being transparent to the Australian people. We are a modern, democratic and confident political party. We take our issues out in the open and we trust Australians to understand and respect the conclusions which we reach. It is our substance, though, not just our process, which distinguishes from Mr Abbott's Liberals. Let me report to you two things that the Liberal Federal Council meeting voted on last month. They voted to water down Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. It is extraordinary, is it? It didn't attract the attention I think it deserved, but we'll give it the attention it deserves. Mr Abbott's Liberal Federal Executive Council has voted again for the right to be a bigot. And just a few weeks before we've gathered here for our bold new goal on renewable energy and an emissions trading scheme, I'm about to quote you something that the Liberal Party actually voted to investigate. I am not making this up. They have voted, and I quote, to investigate the scientific evidence underpinning the theory of man-made climate change. It's all right, I've got a contraband copy of their draft resolution for their next Federal Executive Council. It says that they're going to now, after this, conduct an investigation into whether the moon landing was real. Does gravity work, indeed? We have focused, in all seriousness, on ambitious solutions for climate change, and the opponents, the people currently running Australia, are still arguing about if climate change even exists. This is the contrast and the choice. We are a Labor Party focused on the future, and we have a Liberal Party fighting the lost battles of the past. I think it is fair to say that in our first 2 days of our conference, Labor has proved some of the naysayers wrong. We might have even exceeded some of the expectations. Our detractors doubted whether or not we would nail our colours to the mast, have the courage to nail our colours to the mast on climate change. Our critics have said that supporting a safer, more humane immigration policy would bring us undone. But we should understand at this 47th conference that as long as there has been a Labor Party and a union movement, there have been people willing to write us off. I'm sure if you look at the press coverage as far back as Barcaldine and Balmain, there have been people writing, with all the certainty that only conservative columnists can muster, this Labor experiment won't succeed. But every time in our proud history that Labor has been doubted, we have delivered. Every time that questions are asked of us, we find the answers. We will do this again, and we will do this again today. The Labor Party that I am privileged to lead will fight for marriage equality in this country. A definition of marriage that respects, values and includes every Australian. I say let us achieve this in the life of this parliament. Let us ask of Mr Abbott that he gives a free vote to all the members of his party, and of course if we ask for him to give a free vote, we must extend that ourselves. And let us say, as we pursue marriage equality in this term of government, of the Abbott government, let us say to same-sex couples who are devoted to each other, above all others, that your love is equal before the law, full stop. I do not believe that same-sex couples should have to wait to a change of government. They've waited long enough. I believe that we can deliver marriage equality in Australia even in this term of the Abbott government, and let us not cut our ambitions short. But also today, delegates, we can further modernise our party and our society. I believe that we can make our party more democratic, bigger and more diverse. We should be aiming to be a party of 100,000 members, a Labor Party that people want to join because membership guarantees a meaningful say, not just as elected delegates to our conference, but in shaping our platform and policies as has happened in the process leading up to this conference. Our members should have a say in choosing our leaders and our candidates. It means giving people more say in our House of Reps pre-selections and increasing, and I congratulate the states who have done this, increasing the role of members in our Senate pre-selections. No other party has done this. No other party has had the courage to do this. No other party has the members who would make this happen. Now, delegates, this also means, I believe, in making sure that we modernise our relationship with the union movement. I am proud to be a union member. I'm proud to be part of the greatest force for lifting the living standards of working Australians, seeking to embed the fair go in the workplace and in our community, making Australian workplaces some of the safest and most productive in the world. The Labor model, working with unions, has made us one of the proudest and most successful societies on earth, and is embedding social democracy in this nation. We understand the world is changing. No one needs to be advised of that. We also want to make sure, and I'm sure everyone is up for this, that Labor must appeal and include Australians from all walks of life. We are for an economy and society where everyone prospers, and we want to be a party for all Australians. So this conference extends the invitation to all Australians to become part of the greatest progressive movement in Australian politics. We extend the invitation to workers and to small business, to men and women, to people from the regions and the cities of this country. The Labor Party invites all Australians to be a part of this great party, because we are a party for all Australians. And I'm optimistic that we will continue the push to ensure that by 2025, within 10 years, that half the population will be represented by half the members of parliament across our parliament. I speak of 50% representation for women across the parliament. In 20 years' time, for those of you who choose to come to the 55th conference, what I would like is for the delegates there to be able to recall back to this conference. I would like people in 20 years when they assemble at this conference to say, do you remember the 2015 conference? Do you remember that was the year that Labor set the direction for renewable energy in this country? The year that we committed to cut pollution with a market solution? The year that we put in place a plan for jobs and skills and industries of the future? That this is the year that Labor reaffirmed Australia's identity as generous, kind and welcoming to refugees? The year that a bigger, more democratic Labor Party vowed to carry on the work of rebuilding, of reinvention and reform of Australia? I want them to say then, do you remember when there was still a debate about marriage equality? And 2015 was the year that Labor managed to achieve marriage equality and make it a reality? And I'd like people in 20 years' time to look back now and recognise the enduring mission to which our great party remains recommitted. A stronger, productive economy, good jobs, quality healthcare, education and fairness for all. I want people to look back at this year in future conferences and say this is the year that in 2015 the Labor Party started its momentum to win the election and defeat the rotten Abbott government. Fundamentally, delegates, on our final day of conference, I believe our mission should be to leave here at the end of this day, our heads held high, more united, more energised, more determined than ever to rise above the division and the fear of our opponents, to reject the habits and fears of the past, to seize the opportunities and meet the demands of the future, to advance Australia. Have a great day.